to talk. We're here at Charles Winder's studio, and we're going to talk about the show that we saw at Sony Center, The Merchants of Bollywood. But before we do that, I thought it would be interesting that Charles has revealed to me that he had some theater work. He worked in that theater before. Can you just say something about what you used to do in the theater?
The theater that the Merchants of Bollywood was performed in at one time was called the O'Keefe Center, and for quite a long time it actually was maintained and managed as a theater that housed the National Ballet, or the Canadian Ballet, the National Ballet of Canada, and all of the opera company. And at one point then they both the ballet and the opera built their own theater, which they have now. And the original O'Keefe Center then was sold and was then called the Hummingbird Center, and eventually it was sold and it became the Sony Center, which is where the performance took place.
Okay, so that's the background of the theater, and you used to work there when it was the O'Keefe and the Hummingbird.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
I worked there as an usher for 4 years, and also I think I did some bartending, but basically.
okay, so anyway, Bollywood movies are becoming more popular in Canada, and there are several Bollywood type of musicals that are coming in Toronto, and we saw The Merchants of Bollywood at the Sony Center, and so what did you think about the show?
Well, for me it was actually quite interesting because while I was at the show, I had watched a show in Toronto which is called Bollywood Boulevard, and the show originally was hosted by two persons or people, one being called Mohud and one is Gitika, so I was not unfamiliar with the subject of the performance. However, I do not know a great deal about Bollywood culture itself, but I have watched what's called Bollywood Boulevard on Omni Television.
Which is cable TV.
Yes. Their studios were actually in the same place as City TV now, downtown Toronto.
Okay, well, my interest in Bollywood actually started because I had a boyfriend who was interested in Bollywood movies. Even though he was in Afghanistan, he said he watches movies from Bollywood, and he was a fan of Amitabh Bachchan, who's one of the big stars.
Right.
I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but actually Amitabh Bachchan actually endorsed this Merchants of Bollywood. According to the website of the merchantsofbollywood.com, some of the Bollywood stars are endorsing and encouraging people to view this musical version of the Bollywood movie. And Bollywood movies, based on what I've seen on YouTube, tend to have a story with music and dancing somehow interspersed with the storyline. I think that's the main, and it's inspired by Western influences too, because Hollywood movies, I guess, are being played all over the world. And Bollywood is just like the Indian cinema version of Hollywood, where they have glamorous, beautiful, handsome stars.
Did you yourself enjoy the show?
Well, I think I can see that it's a trend that the Western cinema is influencing Eastern, not only cinema but theater, because the Philippines, there are a lot of, the American movies have been playing in the theaters in the Philippines for many years, and some of the cinema is probably influenced by the clothing, sometimes even in English, some of the movies. So India is obviously influenced as well. They're another Southeast Asian country that's getting into this, Western influences are reflected in the cinema and the theater and the music.
Well,
so I think it's great for me being from the East, but I don't know what the West thinks about that.
Well, okay. Personally, because I have had approximately 7 years working in theater, inside a theater, okay? The audience in itself was different experience for me. Okay, when I was working in a theater, when I was in watching the Merchants of Bollywood, I actually learned the differences. There are different audiences. This is something that's pretty new to me.
Well, the audience looked international, like like they were not just Indian or Asian people watching. There were people who were European, African background, and so I thought, didn't you notice that the audience was mixed?
Well, yeah, and I mean, what I understand was that it was a different kind of audience than I've been in. I have not, like most of the shows, some of the shows that I had actually worked in were from New York City, Broadway musicals. They were Canadian theater productions, musical shows, and some different types of popular entertainment. I'd worked in a long time ago, David Copperfield, like things that were for children and general overall entertainment for Canadian audiences.
Oh, okay. So
So
this was different because they're trying to bring in the Asian
That was
audience.
a very different experience. Like in terms of the type of audience, how the theater was set up. Like I could understand if someone was requested, if they had specifically, they would like a specific type of theater for those kinds of performances, because they may actually inside their performance need different types of theater equipment or things, which I wouldn't have understood before.
So this is the first Asian production you've seen on stage in that theater.
That's the first, which I do understand. Like for example, if it was the case that Indian performers, musicians said that they needed a certain type of stage or place for them, I would understand that now. I didn't understand that before. Like, cause they had people that were playing sitars and Indian instruments, and like the pit, the orchestra pit, is not designed for that. It's designed for Western musicians.
Okay. Well, the music. Actually, I was impressed with the costumes, and according to the press release, the costumes alone were about $1 million in budget. Every song and dance had a different costume, and I'm glad that some Asian Eastern productions are coming into the mainstream theaters, because maybe it will attract an international audience, and for me that's a good sign. Anyway, do you have anything else to say about it?
No, it was very good. I thought it was excellent. I might suggest that they hire a full-time fireman, however.
Fireman for what?
Well, just for that type of a performance.
Oh, why? Why are you talking about the...
Well, no, because during the show they had electronically generated flames when they showed the
Oh, when
Indian
the father
god
was
Shiva.
dying?
Oh, was that it?
Yeah, the father was dying. There was a scene there. Well, you have to watch it, but there is a scene where the father is dying and there were like flames
Yeah, that's
in
right.
this computer graphic generation, probably.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
No.
like it was like a
The
film.
performance, in all honesty, I thought it was unbelievably good. For real. It was awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.